She's finally getting some action. We are the Spy-Fi guys, and this is Spy. Hello and welcome to the Spy-Fi guys, where we cover spy fact, spy fiction, and everything in between. I'm Zach.
And I'm Christian.
And Happy New Year, Christian. We're back in 2024 after a nice break.
Yeah, Happy New Year. What do we know about 2024? I know it's the year that Highlander 2 takes place in, but let's hope we're not in for any of that this year.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of fictional future spy movies around here now, do we?
Well, I don't know that there are any.
Yeah, it would be something like Blade Runner. That's kind of what I was imagining. The not-too-distant future. But we're not here to talk about those movies. We're here to talk about Spy, starring Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, which is a fun film. We watched it together.
When it came out. Actually, before it came out.
Before it came out with a free screening with the Spy Museum, if I recall.
Yeah, and what do you remember, Christian?
I remember enjoying it a lot. I remember we went with a bunch of people. Everyone seemed to have fun with it.
I remember loving it. Legit loving it.
Have you gone back to it since?
No.
I have not either, so that is very interesting. All right.
But stuff did come back to me while I was watching it.
Yeah. I will say that this movie, just with the name, is hard to look up things for.
The name is the worst part, by far.
It's a toss-up between what is harder to find things about, Spy or Triple X.
Mm-hmm. Good question. Depends on who's looking over your shoulder. I think it's just a bad title anyway. It's like these people are being paid millions of dollars. They couldn't come up with something more original. Or at least put the in there, like The Spy.
Well, that's taken now.
It's taken now. I mean, it's very direct and it's very to the point. So I guess I've got that. Just like our main character.
Speaking of being direct and to the point, shall we get into it?
Yes. So as always, we have our poetry synopsis.
Yes.
So we will start with our haiku. Untapped potential. Women tearing down women. Susan outgrows fine.
All right. Okay.
I made that about the themes of the movie, what the movie's trying to say.
I liked it. Yeah.
And then here's the limerick. There once was a woman called Coop, who for years was left out of the loop. She doesn't know wine, but can dress pretty fine, and now she's the lead of the troop.
All right. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right, and what is our actual IMDb synopsis?
Yes, our actual IMDb synopsis is a desk-bound CIA analyst volunteers to go undercover to infiltrate the world of a deadly arms dealer and prevent diabolical global disaster. Phew!
That's a lot.
Yeah, but I feel like it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And with that, off we go.
So, we start with Joseph Fine, played by Jude Law, who's a spy for the CIA, on a mission.
And he's basically James Bond, but even before we have him, I noticed it's directed and written by Paul Feig, who did Bridesmaids, which was Melissa McCarthy's breakout role, but he also did the 2016 Ghostbusters, which this movie reminded me of.
Interesting. Okay.
And we'll get into that. Get into that later.
All right. You know that bringing up that Ghostbusters, or as it's known, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, is like bringing up The Last Jedi on the internet, so prepare for bombardment.
We would be so lucky as to get bombarded, but I would just say it's not as bad as everyone says, but it's also not that great. That's my take on it. I actually enjoyed it when we watched it.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. Yeah, so we have Bradley Fine, who's basically James Bond. The women love him. He can fight. He wears a tuxedo.
He's American, which threw me off. I was you got Jude Law. I was expecting him to be British, but have him be a CIA spy, it makes more sense if he's American.
He does work for the CIA, which they chose to do the CIA, I noticed, and not a fictional agency this time. That's always interesting. And I have a question for you. There's a part where he looks at a woman and says, Baccarat. Does Baccarat have some double meaning that I'm not aware of?
Yes and no. So he's not looking at the woman, he's looking at the glass.
That doesn't explain anything.
Baccarat is the name of a company that makes fine glassware.
Wow. You should play bar trivia. I'm impressed that you knew that.
So, side story. I was a mall rat as a teenager, and, as I started to learn more about James Bond, started to learn terminology, and there was a sign that said Baccarat, and I was in the mall, and I was very excited, and I went in, and it was, it's just a bunch of fancy glasses. Okay, I'm a little disappointed.
You would have been ready to go. So, That reminds me of a story really quick. I can't believe you were a mall rat because we went to the mall when I went home to visit family over the holiday.
Yeah.
And I asked my parents why we weren't allowed to just hang out at the mall like all the other teenagers do in the movies. Teenagers / kids / tweens or whatever.
Right.
They said, because if we let you hang out at the mall unsupervised, you would get into trouble. It's just a question of when and how much.
I never got into trouble.
You never got caught, you mean?
No, I didn't really do. I mean, we hung around and tried on clothes that we couldn't afford, but that's about it.
Oh, well, I guess your parents trusted you more than mine trusted me.
Actually, that was one of my friends' go-to things of, let's go to the mall and try on things we can't afford.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So in addition to Joseph Fiennes, we also have Susan Cooper, played by Melissa McCarthy, who is in his earpiece as his basically, girl in the chair.
Yeah, his oracle.
What's that? Spider-Man Homecoming popularized the term.
Right.
And so he very much reminded me of like Jason Isaac in the Tuxedo, or The Rock in Get Smart, or Agent One in Johnny English, or Justin Theroux in The Spy Who Dumped Me. There's always this character who's like this ideal spy who appears in the beginning, and then, well, not so much the case in The Rock, but all these other ones, something happens to them.
Yeah, they usually die. I also thought of the guy, we don't even know his name, in Triple X.
Oh, yeah. So, Susan is helping Fine with the mission. They're trying to track down a nuke, and so they're going after this arms dealer named Tihomir Boyanov.
Doesn't matter.
Who he accidentally shoots. Well, he has him at gunpoint, accidentally shoots when he sneezes because of allergies.
Our first really good joke of the movie. I thought it was a pretty good joke. I laughed.
Yeah. Now, Fine has to escape, and so he does so with Susan's help.
I was very amused that in a mission where the fate of the world is literally at stake, it's just one person in a cubicle, and everyone else is just kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
I mean, there's a joke... Right, where they're dealing with mice. But even if
not
they
mice,
weren't...
bats.
Right. But like, even if they weren't, they were like talking about the coffee break while she's on the line. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
He gets home and we see it's pretty clear she's in love with him and he doesn't treat her very well. He asks her to do all of his chores.
Takes her out to dinner and gives her a gift. And he looks like it's going to be something real fancy, but it's like a plastic necklace of like a cupcake with a om-nom face on it, on an adjustable nylon string with a toggle.
So I have a note here, and I want to know what you feel about this.
Yeah.
Is this like an abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah. And we find out later
he knows
that
what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's
he definitely does. Asshole. Yeah.
So I thought that the necklace was going to have a tracking device on it, and then it was going to come back later. Because I partially remembered, I was like, I think he's a bad guy. I think he turns out to be a bad guy.
Well, we'll see.
Right.
So we have another mission briefing at Langley. We have the appearance of the CIA SEAL. So, take a shot for every time we see the SEAL.
It wouldn't be a spy movie without it.
Yeah. And since Fine killed Boyanov, they now have to track down his daughter, Raina, who's played by Rose Byrne, who's been in touch with the terrorist middleman named Sergio De Luca. Now, what do you remember Rose Byrne from?
Rose Byrne? I only recognize her name. What should I know her from?
Well, she's in one movie that we have covered, X-Men First Class.
Oh, was she Emma Frost? No, she's the CIA person, right?
Yes, she is. She's Moira McTaggart.
Yeah. I appreciate, though, that they continued the suitcase nuke story from the beginning. I thought it was going to be a throwaway joke.
I wasn't done on Rose Byrne.
Oh, sorry, more about Rose Byrne, yes.
She also plays one of Senator Amidala's handmaidens in Attack of the Clones. She's the one who is posing as the queen when her ship gets blown up in the beginning of episode 2.
Wow, and then very memorable dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go look that up now.
I just find it hilarious that how much all of the handmaidens have gone on to different things. Like, one is Keira Knightley, one is Sofia Coppola, and then one is Rose Byrne.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, we're continuing with the suitcase nuke. So, Fine goes to infiltrate Raina's house, but finds... Well, first, when he goes in, his camera is getting all buggy, so it's like being weird, so Susan can't exactly track him correctly.
Right.
And then
I'm sorry.
Yes?
I want to jump in. We skipped the scene with Morena Baccarin.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I know we're trying to move it along, which I appreciate, but I did want to say it's why I put in the haiku women tearing down women.
Oh.
Because it's a theme in the movie. It isn't just bad guys who do it. Our heroes do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to remember.
Karen, I don't remember.
Karen Walker.
Yeah, yes. She's another spy, much better, or much more successful.
She's better at literally everything. She's like the James Bond.
The female James women, Bond, yeah. Mm-hmm. I also enjoy that, like, they say that, oh, she doesn't even know our names or anything like that, or know who we are. And then Karen comes up to them and is like, oh, hi, Susan. Hi, Nancy.
Yeah, because she's perfect. She's so perfect you can't even hate her. Yeah. Because she's nice.
Fine goes to infiltrate Raina's house. His camera's being all buggy, so Susan can't quite get a read on him. And he gets captured and killed by Raina, who also reveals that she knows the names of all other active CIA agents, so she starts listing them off. Back at Langley, Susan's boss, Elaine Crocker, played by... what's her name?
I recognized her.
She's
very memorable names in the cast.
She's from The West Wing.
Did you already mention the memorial
Allison
wall?
Janney. Oh, no, yeah. So that's what I was about to talk about. So Allison Janney, yeah, that's right. So is this the first time we've actually seen the actual ceremony of like them putting up another star on the memorial wall?
I feel like there's no way it's the first one, but I can't recall.
I know that's been mentioned a lot, but I don't remember any other ceremony. So we actually get to see a ceremony of that. And then Crocker, Elaine's boss, also has a meeting with all of the agents and tell them that none of them can go near Raina or DeLuca since they know their identities. What does this remind you of? Pick one, because there's multiple.
Well, it was like Johnny English.
Get Smart.
Well, the whole movie reminded me of Get Smart. Which,
Johnny English.
Yeah, as you may recall, I didn't like Get Smart that much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I do recall that, and I recall the...
I couldn't really defend my opinion.
The argument we had about, you needed a motivation as to why he wanted to be an agent.
Yeah, but Coop had really good motivations. This movie nailed it for that.
No, I'm still bitter about that, but let's move on.
Yeah, no need to be bitter. It's just a movie.
Agents' identities are exposed, so now they need to have someone whose identity is not known. And hey, Susan is technically classified as an agent, so they're going to send her out into the field, but for recon only. Rick Ford, Jason Statham, is furious at that. You may even say he's fast and furious. No. And he decides he's going to go rogue. Also, he had to make some jokes about the face-off machine, which I thought were hilarious.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That she, leaned into it. she messed with him a little bit as well. Allison Janney did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think that he is one of the best parts of this movie, Jason Statham.
We can talk about it. I remembered when we saw it in the theater, everyone thought he was the best part. I did at the time as well.
I don't think we need a whole movie of him acting like that. I think, but in the way he's used here is excellent.
Yeah, he's much better as the Captain Jack Sparrow type.
So Allison Janney, or Crocker, meets with Susan separately. Apparently, we find out that Fine was actually Susan's mentor when she was in training, and he sniped her for office work because she was the best, basically.
I thought this was very interesting. Beginning of an abusive relationship, you might say, but it wasn't totally malicious, right?
I mean, it wasn't malicious, but it was to serve his own needs rather than her career.
It was very self-interested. That's true. That's true.
I feel like women in the workforce now can understand that.
Yeah, you kept a good woman down. He totally did. And I thought this was going to come back, by the way, which I guess it sort of did, but I thought it would be more explicit.
Okay. So we also have this video of Susan training at the farm where she goes into, a training scenario and takes out a bunch of targets, and then her gun jams, so she basically just rips the wood target off and starts beating the crap out of it, and then beats the crap out of guys who come in who are trying to stop her.
Do you think she has some rage issues?
Maybe a little.
It's great character work. It doesn't really... I would have liked it to come back.
Though.
And when she fights later in the movie, she doesn't do that Incredible Hulk thing. I thought she would.
she actually uses more tactical, and actually is actually more strategic in how she, uses her kicks and everything. And actually, I was impressed. But we'll get to those scenes when we get to them. Mm-hmm. Susan is given a new identity as basically a cat lady.
This is also great. It was great when we saw it in 2015. It was still great when we saw it this time.
She has gadgets that sort of match the identity, including hemorrhoid wipes, which are, have chloroform on them.
The gadgets have a stupid cover, but they're actually useful. The whistle that shoots whistle. The dart. Yeah, that's good.
The stool softener that is anti-poison. Yeah.
Yeah. Though that guy, the armorer guy, was great. He was really funny.
I enjoyed when she said, "Well, did I do something to hurt you at some point?"
I just figured it was hazing for all the new agents.
Yeah.
It always reminded me of Men in Black where he gets the noisy cricket.
Yeah. Her friend Nancy, who is Chummy from Call the Midwife, all those Call the Midwife fans out there, if you're wondering why Chummy didn't appear from season 3 on, it's because she made this movie and then went and do other things.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. But I missed her on that show. Anyways, so Nancy is acting as Susan's, girl in the chair now.
So this isn't one of my... I have a lot of favorite quotes, so I'm just going to say one here. I like when she says, I look like someone's homophobic aunt. Because she really does.
So Susan is sent to Paris in a really shady hotel. I enjoyed how she goes and gets picked up in the cab, and they bring her to all the nice parts you see of Paris, and then it gets increasingly shadier as they go.
This reminds me of Munich, where they send her to the cheap hotels to save some money.
Yeah, but when she finally gets into her really gross looking hotel, she's surprised because Ford is there, and he starts telling these increasingly ridiculous stories that I will not tell because they are most of my quotes.
I guess you liked it then.
Yes.
So I didn't care for it as much. I think if we were in a theater full of people that were laughing at it over and over again, I would find it funnier. So as you may recall, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, a lot of it was improv.
Okay.
I think that's what was going on here.
He's definitely improvising here, yes. Right.
So you can tell. I just feel like it goes on too long. And also, after 10 years of Chuck Norris jokes, that's just what it reminded me of. It's Chuck Norris jokes again.
Also, Chuck Norris jokes have been going on for 20 years.
There you go. That only proves my point better.
But I feel like this plays more into his action roles and just him being an over-the-top version of himself, which I loved.
Yeah, that's good. Have you seen the movie Demolition Man, by the way?
Oh, yes, of course.
So that's Stallone making fun of his own persona as action hero, too.
Yeah. So Susan is supposed to go to DeLuca's office, surveil it, but she finds that it has burned down mysteriously. It's definitely arson. And she talks to a guy who has a cart outside there, and he's like, oh, no, it wasn't, went up real quick. And also he took a photo of it. And in the photo, there's actually a guy in there who's looking pretty suspicious. So she sends the photo to Nancy to identify that guy.
Ford, this is totally ridiculous, by the way. That a super spy would burn something down and then just stand there looking at it.
He's not a super spy. He's just a goon that got hired to do a job. Necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed. They just need someone to burn a building.
Yeah, that being said, the script for this movie is pretty tight, considering that it's a comedy. It makes sense that they are tipped off because Ford is going rogue. And I also appreciated how, for once, going rogue actually makes their job harder, as opposed to all the Mission Impossible movies, where they go rogue and then they still manage to win anyway.
So, Ford appears again and blames her for the burning building and then leaves. Susan sees the guy from the fire as she's watching Ford leave, follows him, sees that he's following Ford. The guy switches backpacks with him. And Susan tries to warn Ford. She finds her way to an outdoor concert where she gets on stage and tries to warn him. Did you enjoy the auto-tune joke? Because I did think that was funny.
Yeah, I liked it. It integrates well with the scene. Of course, it's why even bother with cover? She's just going to run around yelling, Ford, Ford. What was the name? Rick Ford?
Rick Ford.
Over and over again. Yeah. So, it was exciting. It was funny. It worked pretty well.
But she manages to get to another mic, which doesn't auto-tune her, and tells Ford that they switch the backpacks. Ford finds a bomb in the backpack. He throws it into the Seine just in time as it explodes in the water, and everyone runs away.
Turns out he did have enough time to get rid of that bomb.
Just enough.
Right.
Susan spots the man from the fire again in the crowd and runs after him. They go into a building. They fight. This is actually... I like this. She sort of stumbles at first, but manages to actually incapacitate him.
I like the Melissa McCarthy action hero. I would watch more of that.
Yeah. Where she, actually, that goes for the ankle and, kicks his ankle in. It's like, oh, that definitely looked like it hurt. Managed to incapacitate him. Accidentally knocks him off of a very tall ledge, and then vomits on him.
Yeah, this is...
And then drops the knife that, she had stabbed him with initially, so it stabs him again.
This is the gross out humor part of the movie.
There was a lot of more gross out humor than I remembered.
But not too much. I've seen worse.
The vomit was... Yes, I know. The vomit was a little excessive.
That was bad. Couple of things. First of all, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I'm a Melissa McCarthy stan. I don't know if I've told you this already.
No, you have not.
It's freaking amazing.
Okay.
She's like Tom Hanks. She did comedy. She does drama. She can do anything, despite not having movie star good looks, which I think she would agree with me about. So I am a fan. I'm totally irrational about it. Same with Jackie Chan. Same with Damian Lewis. Some of these other guys. Dominic Cooper. Yeah.
Huh. So I did not know that. All right. Cool.
So that absolutely helps me like this movie more.
Yeah. Susan reports back to Nancy and Crocker. Shows them the photos that are on the camera. There's a few that are of where DeLuca is, and then there's a bunch of dick pics.
Yeah, that was totally unnecessary. That was the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, do you feel like this movie needed to be rated R?
It could have been PG-13.
I felt like it would have worked really well if they had it be PG-13.
But, I think they wanted to go for it for the R.
Well, they give them space to riff and do the improv where they can.
Also, there are way too many F words for a PG-13. You get one.
Yeah, I don't know. If they had toned down the jokes, would it have been the same?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, there's a ton of them, and it's very explicit. And, I enjoyed how Ford's as the back at headquarters is Ford, or as they're seeing all these images projected. Ford's handler, who's basically does nothing because Ford just keeps going rogue. She's sees it Ford's is bigger.
Yeah.
But more importantly, there's a video of Raina and DeLuca talking about Ronaldo. And it turns out Ronaldo is a car, a Rolls-Royce Wraith, which has a tracking system in it.
So you were able to follow the story of this movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't really putting that much brain power into following it, to be honest.
All right. So they track it and find out that it's in Rome. Susan wants to go follow the car. Crocker is hesitant, but tells her to, pull up the carpet in the corner, and there's a new identity for her. It's another cat lady. And she complains about her cover and, how, fine got to be a business person, or at one time even a race car driver, but she just keeps getting cat ladies.
It's smart. I liked it.
Yeah. So in Rome, Susan meets with a local agent Aldo, who's a giant perv.
Yeah, this is too much. This was way too much. Do you agree? It's enough already.
It was spaced out. Well, you had
Yeah, I also like that it makes fun of Italians, because you don't really see that often. I think they get all kind of light. You think so? No, you don't agree?
It depends on the era, really.
That's true.
If you watch The Untouchables, there's a lot of Irish and a lot of making fun of Irish and making fun of Italians in that one.
Well, it's the 70s through the 90s, the Italians are always depicted as mobsters.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a step up.
Is it, though?
Maybe a small one.
No, it's not at all, really. I don't know. Mobster's at least cool. This guy is just gross.
Right. That's true.
He is also a ridiculous driver and drives her through a bunch of back alleys trying to go to where DeLuca is. So they see DeLuca going into the casino. Nancy is in Susan's ear telling her to surveil from the pastry shop across the street, but Susan decides no, she wants to go in, but she can't go in looking like Cat Lady. So she goes and spends a whole bunch of money. Apparently they have a clothing budget on missions, but blows right past
did a glow
it.
Up. This kind of confused me.
Feel
free to accuse me of overthinking. Wouldn't be the first time. But I was Susan knows how to dress and look good. So why doesn't she do it most of the time? Is it because they don't pay her enough money?
Probably.
To get nice clothes?
Yeah. I mean, we hear later on that they do not pay her well at all. So yes, probably that.
Mm.
So she gets a glow up. She looks a lot better than obviously than the cat lady disguise.
Right.
And she goes into the casino, but of course she's not on the list. But Rick Ford is in there and says that, oh, she's with me. They have another tete-a-tete.
I didn't write down what they said, but I said that it's really harsh. Like, they're really digging into each other.
Mm. Yeah, there's one quote in there that I will bring back later on.
Mm-hmm.
Ford says he's going to go take out DeLuca, whereas Susan just wants to surveil him since he's the only one who knows where the bomb is. So DeLuca, well, not entirely true. Raina also knows, but they need him to find Raina. DeLuca goes into Susan tries to follow DeLuca into a private gaming room, but she is escorted out. But before she manages to see DeLuca hand a note off to someone, which is then given to Raina in the bar.
Yeah, I like when they tell her no more exploring, okay? I want to get told that at some point.
Yeah. So Susan notices someone trying to spike Raina's drink.
I immediately recognized this guy. He's in Silicon Valley. He was also in Ghostbusters 2016.
He's in The Office.
Right.
Yeah.
Always playing a nerd, which he does here too. Actually, this is one of his tougher roles.
Yeah. So, he spikes the drink. So, but since Raina is the only one who actually knows where the bomb is, Susan has to save her, tell her about the drink. Raina is just so condescending to her.
Yeah, Raina sucks.
I thought she's hilarious here.
In this part, yeah.
Her goons find the guy who tried to poison her, and they make him drink the martini.
Yes. Before this, I wanted to mention probably the most problematic part of the movie.
Yes.
Did you write this down? Where Raina says to Susan, why would someone want to roofie you? Like, the idea, it's like, because she's, like, unattractive. Do you remember this?
Yes, I did. Do you think that's the most problematic part of this movie?
Maybe not the most. It definitely made me flashback to, like, 2015. I don't think you could say that today.
Well, she is supposed to be a terrible person, so I'm okay with it.
I know. It's just so bad.
Yeah, I mean, that is her bread and butter, is that she's a terrible, terrible person, and she's hilarious.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, brushed over me. I did I mean, I can see potentially getting offended by that, but it's just like...
Well, I didn't say I was offended, but I just don't think that's a joke you would make today. That's all I'm saying.
I don't necessarily agree, but okay.
All right.
So anyway, Raina makes the guy drink the poison martini, and he drinks it, and his throat dissolves.
Yeah, an extremely gruesome death. Yeah. I guess another reason why this movie needed to be rated R, so they could do that.
Susan sees that and faints. But then when she wakes up, Raina, thanks her and says she wants to take her to dinner to, fully thank her, but she's still being condescending while thanking her.
Yeah, she made a new friend. Susan made a new friend, so well done. So I watched this movie with my girlfriend, and she asked, why does Raina keep dunking on Susan's dress? Like, what's wrong with her dress? I said, there's nothing wrong with it. Raina's just pompous.
Yep.
And it's women tearing down women again.
Mm-hmm. It reads better than a man tearing down a woman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that seems less funny, whereas it seems more funny here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think a movie was trying to say something with that, or no?
I don't think so. I don't think it's deep enough for that.
I guess if they were trying to say something, they would have made it more explicit.
Yeah. Well, other than the very surface level of, don't be shitty to other women.
Right, which applies to people in general. So.
Yeah. Susan, she tells Susan to pick the wine, and Susan really does not know how to pick wine. And
this is the callback to the towel joke, where earlier she eats something that turns out to be a towel. This time she thinks it's food. It turns out it is actually a towel. I like that.
Other way around. She thinks it's a towel, but it is actually food.
Oh, she thinks it's towel, but thinks it's food, right? Yes, thank you.
Yeah. But she's, trying to impress Raina, basically. And then Raina tells Susan the story of this, poor clown woman in Bulgaria that Susan reminds her of.
Yep.
She's just so terrible, and it's so funny.
So mean for no reason.
She hates the idea of Raina, of Susan wasting all of her time and money and Rome because it's so tacky and boring. So she wants to bring Susan to Budapest as a thank you.
Talk about a good new friend to have.
Right? Yeah. So they see Ford in the casino. Raina's goons are trying to apprehend Ford. And as they're getting the drop on him, Susan taps on her earpiece in Morse code to shut off the power, which was real clever. Like, if you can't talk...
And you can't be too obvious, because then they'll know it's you.
Mm-hmm. They end up shutting down power in most of Rome. Ford, with the surprise of the blackout, manages to take out the goons, and Susan takes the opportunity to knock over Raina.
Yeah, just to be mean.
Well, because she, as far as she knows, killed her, her best friend, and not best friend, but the guy she is in love with.
Yeah, right. It's not being mean. It's more just to get back at her.
Yeah,
take advantage of the opportunity.
So they're on Raina's private plane to Budapest. She keeps insulting Susan's clothes, and then says that Susan reminds her of her mother. Shows her photo, and a very ugly-looking woman.
Yeah, it's like Charlie's mom from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. But apparently her mother was the only person that Raina could really trust, which is a good sign for Susan if she reminds Raina of someone that she can trust.
Right.
Drinks some champagne, which is drugged. Susan, goes for her stool softener anti-poison pill, but passes out before she can actually take it. Apparently Raina drugged her so she go through all her things.
But it's spy stuff, so she doesn't figure it out. And most of her devices she ends up using, kind of like a James Bond movie, but not quite all of them. So most of them come back.
Yeah. But as this is all, as she's waking up, the flight attendant comes in and shoots Raina's bodyguard.
Yeah, so he's a traitor to Raina.
He's a traitor. And then I like how the pilots come out and say, and who are also traitors, but were trying to kill him because they wanted to get the money first. So everyone just hates. Oh yeah, Raina can't even remember the name of the flight attendant. Keeps calling him Colin. Is it Colin quit 8 months ago? I'm Frederick.
It's an older joke, but it checks out. Yeah. It also makes sense. The script is tight. It makes sense then that she would take Susan on as a bodyguard, which is her cover later, or her story, I guess I should say. Because it makes sense if all these people keep betraying her, she needs somebody.
And also, Frederick just shot her bodyguard.
Yeah, that too. She's a new one.
Yeah.
So I take it this plane fight reminded you of Goldfinger?
Not really.
It's a fight on a private plane?
Yeah, but
that's
also,
not enough?
No, because you don't have, a bad guy going out the window with explosive decompression. What it reminded me more of, actually, is Night and Day, the fight in that plane. Because they also have, the pilots end up shooting each other. And, and then the main character has to take control of the plane.
Yeah, good point.
All the pilots and basically everyone besides Susan and Frederick, not Frederick, Susan and Raina end up dead. Susan gets control of the plane, levels it out. Raina gets trapped under two of the dead goons.
Yeah, so I was like, what's she going to do now? Her cover is clearly blown. She's not a cat lady.
So she comes up with a new cover, as you said, that she's actually a private bodyguard that Raina's father had hired.
Mm-hmm. An action woman, if you will.
Yeah. And they arrive in Budapest. There's going to be a meet that night with a potential buyer. Raina doesn't know where yet. They also meet Anton, who's another member of Raina's security team.
Again, it's just constant improv insults that go on a little too long, in my humble opinion.
I think it was perfect. Susan finally gets to her room and puts in her earpiece, but then also immediately realizes that there's cameras in every one of the rooms, so she leaves the hotel.
Yeah, I thought she was going to get caught because of that. Because as soon as you see her on camera holding her hand to her ear, I thought someone was going to see it, and she's going to get blown, and then blah.
But I mean, she realizes as soon as she sees it, so she stops it, and she uses the phone as a cover, which I enjoyed, and calls Nancy, and it's revealed that Nancy is actually also in Budapest, right around the corner.
Yeah. Did they ever explain why? I think it's because they couldn't reach her. Yeah.
They couldn't reach her, and so Crocker wanted to know where she was, so they figured since she also has never been out in the field, her cover was probably safe. So
I
they
like
send
the
her
idea
out.
of it's like they just go down the list of inexperienced people as they go missing.
Raina and Anton see Susan with Nancy. They come up with another cover as an associate of Susan's. And of course, at this point, Susan is using Nancy's spy name, which was, I don't remember what it was.
Like Angel Valentine or something like that.
Amber Valentine. And so, obviously, Nancy can't use that as her spy code name. So she uses Susan's real name as her spy name.
That was another really good joke. I thought that was a good joke.
Yeah. But in the midst of all of this, there's a drive-by shooter who kills Anton. I didn't realize until I was like, wait, what happened to Anton? Oh, he's dead in that scene.
Yeah, there might be the taxi driver dying and The Spy Who Don't Me.
Oh, yeah. No, because that was that was just a sort of, all right, he's shot and then that's the end of it. The taxi driver and Spy Who Dumped Me, they have to keep driving over his dead body and keep making jokes about it. It's it's not as brutal as that.
That was very brutal. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also get a what they call a fatty fall down joke.
I've never heard
the trailers
that term.
Too. Yeah, where Melissa or Susan gets into a moped and it just topples over.
A moped with a roof on it.
Hey, it makes sense to me. What if it rains?
Yeah. Anyways, but she gets on a different scooter. They have a chase. At one point, has to, jump over some construction and does it, makes a real cool jump, and then lands in wet cement. But that's not the end of it. It actually manages to get out of the wet cement.
Yeah,
keeps going.
It goes over, but it's not.
Yeah. She's sort of at a standoff with the driver in the car, and the driver tries to run her down. She shoots out the tires, reveal that the shooter is actually Karen, Miranda Baccarin.
Yeah, this is very quick. It's like she's alive for probably less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it looks like Karen's right about to kill her when she's taken out by a sniper.
And I thought they wouldn't explain this, but then they did.
Did they?
Well done, yes. See?
Okay.
It's a tight script. Tighter than you'd expect.
Oh, is it? Do we see a flashback later on?
It's just like a throwaway line. Bradley Fine says, I'm the one who shot her. That's how you know you can trust me.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, he's a triple agent still.
And Raina is in a balcony above them, pours water over their heads, and now they're panicked because what did she hear?
Yeah, and she's really mad.
Yeah,
and she has a gun.
Yeah.
Not a great combination.
No. So, Susan and Nancy are basically all that's left of Raina's security. So she tasks them with finding more security for her, and the only person that headquarters can send is Aldo.
I did like the joke that when he comes back, they're like, oh no, not him. But it also makes sense. Yeah, they don't have that many people. They need him.
Yeah. They're at a party for, the meet with the buyer. Nancy is scanning the crowd. Susan and Aldo are, guarding Raina.
I like the joke that she has Darth Vader gloves.
Yeah. Also, there's all these jokes about Raina's hair, which I thought was hilarious.
Hey, she deserves it. You're going to make fun of someone's dress. Get something about your hair right back.
Yeah, I kind of just want to see behind the scenes stuff of this, of just how many times they cracked up.
Yeah, how many improv jokes were left on the ground.
Yeah. Susan sees that the buyer is the woman who switched the backpacks on Ford in Rome. Susan also sees that Ford is in disguise on the dance floor with a wig and a mustache, and it looks hilarious.
I thought it was a pretty good disguise.
I didn't realize it was him at first, but once you do, it's it looks so hilarious.
I like that he has a wig with the little patch of hair, he's balding. You don't normally see that. Usually wigs go all the way or nothing.
Mm-hmm. So they're basically to have a very, low-key fight on the dance floor. They fall over.
I can't believe you haven't mentioned is it Fitty? The Fitty set cameo.
I was about to get to that. That's right after they fall over, and they're like, wait, no, we need to blend, and they're dancing as they get up. Then 50 Cent shows up. He's performing at the party.
Oh, I mixed up the order of operations there. Yeah. So this celebrity cameo feels so much it's from the 90s. That's when they would do that.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, even so, the movie came out in 2015, so it feels so
it's
dated.
It's a very dated, but also just still works.
This is great. Hey, Christian, did you know that 50 Cent has been shot 9 times?
Yes, I did know that.
Just checking. Yeah. I was going to put that in Spy Fact versus Fiction. Mention it.
It's supposed to create a diversion, so she goes and tackles 50 Cent on stage.
Also great. I loved it.
and then Ford shows up, and in that chaos, the buyer gets the drop on Susan. Nancy causes another diversion by, throwing a bunch of switches on the soundboard. In that, confusion manages to escape. Susan goes to chase after them. They have a fight in the kitchen, which is a pretty good fight.
Yeah. Have you seen The Raid 2?
I have not, no.
Another great kitchen fight, and that's a martial arts movie, so it makes sense.
Yeah. But there's a lot of knife action and, using frying pans to combat knives.
Yeah, a very gratuitous part where she pulls the knife out of her own hand.
Yeah, Susan stabs the knife right through her hand and she pulls it out.
Yeah, it's like, what are you, an Urkai?
At that point, she thinks she has the buyer under control and even says you're, under arrest by Susan Cooper of the CIA. Like, you really shouldn't even say that, even if you think that...
so try and cover here. Come on.
Yeah. But she doesn't actually have her under control because there's a knife right next to her hand. She's about to get stabbed, but then a knife comes out of nowhere and is thrown at the buyer. And Raina walks in with a still alive. What's his name? Joseph Fine? Bradley Fine.
Bradley Fine.
Who's Joseph Fine? Oh, that's like...
Is he an actor?
Yes. It's like Ralph Fiennes, nephew, maybe? I don't... Yeah. So he's still alive. And he's the one who threw the knife.
And he's a bad guy, apparently.
Yeah. Susan gets knocked unconscious.
And I was like, oh, great. Does every spy movie need to have a torture scene? They're so tedious. They get tortured. They escape. It takes forever. At this point, I was kind of ready for the movie to be over.
Have you seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yeah, but I remember very little of it.
Oh, you should watch it again, because there's actually... So... There's a sidebar again, but there's the whole thing sort of, models after an old detective story, right? And they call it out in the book, in the thing, because they're characters are fans of the books, and they always say, oh yeah, there's a scene where he always gets tortured and gets away and always shoots 9 guys. It's very specific. He always shoots 9 guys when he gets away. And so you saying that made me think of that when they they're hanging a lampshade on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's also just a great movie anyways, but let's get back to Spy.
But then it turned out to be wrong because Susan doesn't in fact get tortured.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So she wakes up in front of Raina and Fine, and we find out Raina and Fine are sleeping together. Also, Raina doesn't know that Fine's the one who killed her father. He claims it was another agent.
Yeah, but Raina's totally got Susan's number.
Oh, yeah.
She knows she's CIA, that she knows she's in love with Bradley Fine.
Yeah.
She's totally in her head.
And also fakes out her with an unloaded gun and fires it at her. And because she thinks makes her think she's going to kill her. Yeah. But doesn't, and even says you think I'd waste a bullet on you.
Yeah, that's totally over the top. Totally over the top, yeah.
But fitting with her, because she is very much over the top.
That's right.
So she gets instead put in a cell with Aldo. And Susan is depressed about failing the mission and about Fine being a traitor.
See, she never had confidence in herself. Mm-hmm. She never believed in herself. It's the character stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Fine comes to see Susan, says that this was his only way in. It was to fake his death and gain Raina's trust, and said that Karen's the one who told Raina all of the agent names. And is this where he says that he's the one who killed Karen? That's how he gets arrested?
Yeah. Well, do I have it written down?
I don't know. Do you?
I don't think so. But makes sense.
Yeah. But Susan's still skeptical, and she headbutts him.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But he tells them that they're going to go to DeLuca's villa and to find wherever the bomb is. But you can just stay put here. So Aldo compliments Susan, says she's a good agent,
among other things.
Well, yeah,
we won't get into that.
Well, he's very nice and actually good, and then of course is gross.
Of course, yeah. He's one character he's going to go with that.
Yeah. So Susan has Aldo untie her and gets into very awkward positions.
Yeah, it's very amusing. But they escape. They escape,
knock out take out the guards, and Susan goes off to the villa, and she's about to hotwire. Was that a Trabant? It almost looked like Trabant. But it was some, really crappy European car. Yeah. But instead, she sees the very nice BMW, just across the way, and decides to take that instead.
Mm-hmm.
So she drives it to the villa. It approaches and gets all the guards' attention.
Yeah, for such a cool car, it doesn't have a very long life.
But it was all a distraction so that Susan could get into the villa.
That's right.
So Raina is meeting with DeLuca. DeLuca is skeptical about Fine because he's
I found this part a little hard to follow. All the different alliances and backstabbings. And
so DeLuca
Pirates of the Caribbean
wants to call off the deal, but Raina refuses, at which point Susan barges in, and she's trying to throw them off balance by saying that she knows everything about the buyer because she's been studying him for how many years. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't think so. But she's willing to sell it all out for her love, Bradley Fine.
Basically, she's trying to keep Fine alive because she's in love with him, and he's like, but this idiot, doesn't even realize that. Mm-hmm. And finally, the buyer of the nuke, Dudayev, shows up.
Talking about Russian stereotypes here.
DeLuca says that, once payment is made, they'll be taken to the hiding spot for the nuke, and they pay 100 million in euros in diamonds.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Raina brings them all to the garage where Ronaldo, the car from earlier, is there, opens the trunk, and apparently there's a secret lead-lined compartment where the nuke has been kept. And I enjoyed the line from DeLuca's like, I wish you told me, Raina, because I've been putting my gym clothes on top of that for, a week now.
Yeah, it's nice that the bad guys get the funny lines, too.
Yeah. So as soon as they take the nuke out of the trunk, DeLuca's men get the drop on Dudayev and kill him and his men. My note is
curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah. And shoots Dudayev in the head.
There's a part that doesn't really make any sense where Ford shows up and then immediately falls on his face and knocks himself out.
It's there for a joke, and I liked it.
I know, this is me overthinking again. I'm like, if he can't even go through a door, how did he stay alive with all these missions? Unless all those stories he told about what a badass he is are lies. In which case, I totally believe it. I thought it was true. I mean, the movie is heightened to reality anyway.
You thought that he managed to disguise himself as Barack Obama in front of Congress.
It's a fictional movie. Anything's possible.
No, I think he's
the face-off machine.
Face-off machine. No, it's all BS.
I guess so, yeah.
But it's funny BS.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently DeLuca has a buyer who'll pay 500 million euros for the bomb, as opposed to just that 100 million. He doesn't get the 100 million. Raina gets the 100 million. He only gets, a finder's fee. So instead he'll make, 500 million and also get the 100 million in euros. So really 600 and the nuke. So he gets everything. But of course this means he has to kill Raina too. And this is where, Ford pops in and is about to, go on a rampage, but then snags his jacket on the door handle and gets knocked out.
Yeah, so Raina gets saved by Susan yet again. How many times is this? 4?
Yeah, something like that. She takes out all the goons. DeLuca shoots Fine in the arm. DeLuca starts choking Susan, and there's a gun near Raina, and Susan is shouting at her to push it towards her, and she slide it, barely moves. It's use your little bird arms and get it over here.
I thought it was a really good joke. I did not see it coming.
And manages to use it to hit him over the head and get him out of his grip. And DeLuca has escaped and has the bomb on the chopper outside.
As soon as I saw the chopper, I was like, someone's going to hang off of it.
Yeah, of course. So Susan and Ford get onto a strut. Well, Susan gets onto a strut and Ford is hanging on to Susan. There's a lot of groping and HR jokes.
Of course.
And, Ford manages to slip off while Susan.
What I appreciated about this movie is that there's jokes all the way through. I think we've talked about comedy is not my favorite movie genre because a lot of times it stops being funny about halfway through because they need to actually have a story.
Or you get the immediate, the supreme mood whiplash of Spy Who Dumped Me. We're it's funny, and then horrible deaths, and
this one manages to avoid that, except for that one gratuitous death. Well, that and then the other one.
There's other
and then the other one. Yeah,
but
anyway,
the tone doesn't seem as as a drastic mood shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So Susan manages to hang on, gets in the chopper, throws the diamonds and the nuke out of the door and into the water.
Nice moment, yeah.
DeLuca is about to shoot Susan, but he gets sniped by Nancy. Still alive, though.
Yeah, which is a little absurd. My note here is also, wow, if only he hadn't taken that second to say die before he shot Susan.
Also, Aldo is piloting the other helicopter where Nancy is in. Also, Nancy's not a trained sniper, so it makes sense that she, couldn't exactly go for the headshot.
It really makes no sense that she could hit him at all.
Exactly, right.
Shooting from one chopper to the other. And I like how, these spy movies, it's like everyone can just do everything. Susan hasn't been in the field in 10 years and she can still land an airplane.
Yeah. Well, that one I'll give her because she's the person in the chair. So there's no doubt that at some point Fine had to land a plane, so she had to walk him through it. And so she remembers that knowledge.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe Nancy had to walk whoever her agent in the field is through shooting a sniper rifle.
It's a little bit more plausible. Yeah. Okay.
DeLuca, still alive, tries to grab for Susan and instead grabs the cake necklace.
It does come back, but not the way that I was expecting.
And she, takes off or uses the adjustable toggle to take it off, and he falls out of the chopper.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Hans Gruber death. It's almost kind of filmed in a similar way.
Yeah.
Not almost kind of. It is filmed in a similar way. The part where you see him falling.
Susan stabilizes the chopper. We find out that the chopper that Nancy's in belongs to 50 Cent. He's in the chopper too. Apparently she had to deputize him to get him to give him the chopper.
This is great.
And the CIA come to clean up. We see Reina is arrested. More jokes about her hair.
Aldo is revealed to be Albert from MI6, or is he?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Apparently he got 2 in character, and I can't tell if he's joking.
You can't tell whether he's actually joking? Me neither.
I think he's MI6.
Oh, okay. And he just kept the joke going a little too long.
Mainly because he's played by Peter Serafinowicz, who is a Brit.
Oh, that's the reason?
That's also, more, Peter Serafinowicz in Guardians, but also the voice of Darth Maul. Well, before Sam Witwer did it for all of the animated stuff, but at least in Phantom Menace.
The original voice.
Yeah.
Do you like it that they're sending her to Prague? They're always going to Prague in these spy movies.
Yeah. Oh, Prague or someplace that looks it's supposed to be somewhere else, but is actually just Prague.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So she, Fine, also congratulates Susan, and Crocker
I like how she salutes, and he's like, we don't salute people.
No one does that. Crocker's got a new mission for her, new identity. It's another bad photo. Fine invites her to dinner, but she actually turns him down, showing that she's, I think, finally over him.
Well, like I said in the haiku, she's outgrown him.
Yeah.
She doesn't need him anymore. For her own, she has her self-fulfillment. She's fulfilled. She doesn't need him. I thought that she was going to bring back, you screwed me. It's your fault I've been an analyst for 10 years.
But, no. Yeah.
No.
That's a go. And then Ford shows up, somehow looking, clean and also in a new suit, which they call
he's
out.
Good at that. Yeah.
And he says that they ask if he's going to rejoin the CIA. He says, yeah, I think they will. They need me. But first, I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to take this speedboat down the coast to Italy. But doesn't realize that the body of water that he's taking off into is just a lake.
Yeah, I remember this from 2015.
Where I did not remember
he's
that.
Sailing around the lake. I remember it going on longer than how it did, actually. And does this remind you of? It reminded me of the band from Uncle, when Henry Cavill's going around the lake.
It did not remind me. I just enjoyed that joke. Fades to black, but then Susan and Ford wake up in bed together, and she screams and she says, "You liked it."
I didn't like that.
We didn't. It wasn't necessary to have that.
Okay, Here's the theory.
All right.
Here's honestly a theory. But I wondered if someone at Hollywood was like, how do we know she's not gay? Because she goes off with her friend. It's
I could definitely see that as a terrible studio note from some out-of-touch executive.
I don't know. I can't imagine Paul Feig really cares that much about it.
Yeah.
It's a theory. I didn't like it. Yeah. I was waiting for there to be an after-credit scene because I was like, this time I'm going to watch it. And Christian's not going to give me a hard time for skipping it. No. But then it's just immediate. Yeah.
Unless, was there anything else after the credits? I actually didn't watch. I don't think so.
Once it does the legit credits, where it's like the tiny little font.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more after credit scenes.
Okay.
If there is, I didn't see
what they do have is there's other missions that are seen in the credits. They like give mission names and all this other stuff like that she goes through and what her terrible, identity is for each of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Increasingly terrible identities. It's amazing.
But with that, our movie ends.
Yeah, so now it's time for our Spy Fact versus Fiction. Would you like to go first?
Sure, I've just got one thing. So I told you I was going to bring back one of his quotes, and I'm kind of cheating because I'm using one of his quotes, but it's actually for Spy Fact versus Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
When they're in the casino and Susan tells Ford to take it down a notch, and he says, "Take it down. That's how you get polonium-210 slipped into your drink and go 18 months in intensive care for radiation poisoning, go 6 months without eyesight while everyone you've ever loved is gunned down." This is a very specific reference to Alexander Litvinenko.
From the 70s, right?
No. This was 2006.
Oh, I was thinking of the Umbrella one.
Oh, no, that's not Litvinenko. That is, now I can't remember his name. Bulgarian umbrella gun. Georgy Markov, that's right. No, Alexander Litvinenko, now this is from Wikipedia, he was a British naturalized Russian defector and former officer of the Federal Security Service, otherwise known as the FSB, which is the successor to the KGB. And he was a prominent critic of Vladimir Putin and also advised British intelligence. Anyways, in November 1, 2006, Litvinenko suddenly fell ill and was hospitalized after poisoning with polonium-210, and he died from poisoning on the 23rd of November.
Did he go blind for 6 months?
That, I don't think so, but I'm just like, the fact that they've specifically called out polonium-210 is definitely a reference to him. And apparently there was a murder investigation which identified a former member of the Russia's Federal Protective Service, or FSO, as the main suspect. Basically, it definitely was a Russian hit because he was such a big, critic of Putin.
Right. I remember that story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like at one point there was also talks that there was going to be a movie made of him about him, and that Daniel Craig would star, but so far nothing has happened.
I could see it. He looks like him.
Yeah. So that's what I got for Spy Fact versus Fiction. When I heard polonium-210, I immediately thought of that.
All right, cool. Well, thanks. I have a lot.
All right,
the first one is, according to a survey results published in January 2023, which I just found via Googling, a survey found about 1/3 of adult Americans think they could safely land a passenger aircraft without air traffic controllers' guidance. And among male respondents, it rose to 50%.
Wait, say that again? So what's the percentage?
So what people were saying is half of American men are confident they could land a plane.
Okay, but what was it? What about in general, just everyone? What was the percentage? 1/3. Oh boy.
Yes. And according to a comment I read on Reddit, which I lost, most air traffic controllers don't know how to fly planes because that's not their job.
True. No, they need to give you the headings and everything, and also tell you that if the runway is clear.
Yes. So also, I noticed, according to CIA.gov, the history of CIA SEAL, in the movie, you can feel free to go back and double check this. The eagle faces to the right. In real life, it faces to the left. I don't know why they changed it.
Well, that's a thing that I've noticed going back to maybe the 90s and even early 2000s. They would just straight up use the real CIA SEAL. But as time has gone on, I think the CIA has been actually more picky about it. Like, if you watch this last season of Jack Ryan, they used something that's very similar, but is not like they changed up the seal for
legally distinct.
Yeah, legally distinct, but it's still looks like the seal. And there's I can't think of what other examples, but so I'm wondering now if CIA is pushing back on the use of that seal.
Is it kind of like the U.S. military? You can use our stuff if you don't make us look bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but Jack Ryan, they make them look really good. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That was I noticed it there, and I noticed it. I forget what other movies I noticed or TV shows I noticed in where it's like, is something wrong with the seal? It's not right.
Something's off.
Yeah.
Right. The next thing I have is Wiley University Services, the limits of the power of the CIA. A couple of myths. They do not generally arrest suspects, as Susan does in the movie. It has no law enforcement power. Their primary function is for intelligence gathering and analyzing. And then also, and this applies to all of our movies, not just this one, it says the CIA does not operate with impunity. It is a common misconception they have unlimited authority above the law, but actually, everything they do must be authorized and monitored by several different government agencies that are in place to ensure that operations are carried out legally, including the House Permanent Selection Committee on Intelligence, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, the Office of the Inspector General, all of a hand. So you're not going to see that in any of our movies, fictional or otherwise. So then I thought of middle-aged cat lady covers, because they must exist in real life, and I remembered one. So I went all the way back to Vengeance by George Jonas, the book that we did for Munich.
Yep.
Because I remembered it was in there, and I found it. So on 22nd January 1979, a Palestinian terrorist named Ali Hassan Salameh, who I think they may have talked about in the movie because his name sounded familiar.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know where from. Yeah.
Well, probably from the movie. Yeah. So he was blown up with several of his bodyguards when his Chevrolet station wagon passed by a parked Volkswagen on a street in Beirut, Lebanon.
Huh.
This was possible because his movements had been observed by an Israeli agent masquerading as Erica Marie Chambers, quote, an eccentric, cat-loving English spinster.
Wow.
She was living down the street not far from Salameh's second wife, a former Miss Universe.
Huh.
Other Mossad agents rented the Volkswagen, loaded it with explosives, and parked it along the route. And then there's a couple different sources about what happened. One source says that Chambers, or Chambers in quotation marks, put a radio transmitter under Salameh's car. Another one said that she pressed the button herself when she saw Get into Position, a.k.a. a remote explosive from GoldenEye. Either way, they got their man, and they used a middle-aged cat lady cover to do it. And then finally, like you said, the part where Ford's analyst is like subtly taking a picture of the guy's dick pics with her iPhone.
Right.
So that leads me to Inside the Fortified Room Securing U.S. Secrets from the Washington Post by Derek Hawkins, Adrian Blanco, Perry Stein, and William Neff.
Wow.
It says, every year the federal government classifies documents, and in order to see them, you need not only top secret level security clearance, but you also need a SCIF, which stands for a Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, an ultra-secret room where they take precautions to review the info. And the article, if you are so inclined to Google it, has pictures and information about how you build one. Like all the layers that go into it, which we're not going to get into. And it says, despite all these safeguards, SCIFs often function like normal offices with workstations and space to hold meetings, but cell phones and other unsecured devices are barred. So presumably this would take place in a SCIF, and she wouldn't have a cell phone, any cell phone, let alone a personal one.
Yeah, but we also see that this whole, like, at least as they show them, they're not even analysts. They're just, I don't know what they this is not the most secure setup they have here. Well, the fact that they're dealing with, mice, bats, anything, any sort of rodent, it's not secure.
And none of them were paying attention when Bradley Fine's taking on a suitcase nuke.
Or the fact that, like, Ford's, did you see what Ford's, girl in the chair was doing? She was when she's like, Nancy was like saying, did you know that Ford's in the field? And she says, well, he's gone rogue. I can't do anything until he checks in. And she has a photo of herself and is using CIA tech to see what she looks like with different hairstyles.
Oh no, I didn't see that. I see. Very unprofessional.
Yeah.
All right, so that is all I have for Spy Fact versus Fiction.
Alrighty.
Next, we have our favorite quotes. Would you like to go first?
Sure. So I've got a bunch from Ford.
Okay, lay them on me.
I'm not going to say all of them, but I have them written. So we've talked about it, but I'm just going to go for it. Here's what we do. I go into the face-off machine. I get a whole new face. I turn up and never know it's me. How's my?
That's a good impression. Nice job. I thought you were going to do the whole scene is good, but that one part is
just the face-off machine. The fact that he thinks the face-off machine's real. Probably only pull off that accent for that limited time. So let's see some of his other stories. I once used defibrillators on myself. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute.
Really quick, do you think the defibrillator on yourself is a reference to the Crank movie?
Oh, could be.
Because I'm pretty sure he does that.
Yeah, he definitely does that in the Crank movie, yeah. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute and both broke legs on landing, and I still had to pretend I was in a Cirque du Soleil show. I've swallowed enough microchips and shit them back out again to make a computer. I really like this one. I make a habit out of doing things that people say I can't do. Walk through fire, Water Street blindfolded, take up piano at a late age.
Yeah, I did like that. I like the piano
like
one.
that. It's the comedic rule of three. A third thing's weirder or different.
Yeah, take the shot at toxic masculinity. Appreciate that.
Yeah, but that's what I've got for favorite quotes.
Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to go in reverse order through the movie, and I'll try to keep it reasonable. So for some reason, I really like the line at the end where Susan says, "Sorry about the lake," to the guys whose job it is to swim around in lakes and collect.
I was amused by that. Well,
I thought that was great.
Yeah. All right.
So I also liked 50 Cent saying, "Let's go shoot someone else." Which, it just occurred to me now, it's like shoot someone other than him. Is that what it's getting at?
But also just shoot, yeah.
Another person.
He also just had saw Nancy shoot DeLuca with a sniper rifle. Which I didn't even mention that she subsequently drops it.
Yeah. So it's a joke that works on many layers.
Yeah.
I liked when Nancy was the friend, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I read encyclopedia, I read all the Hunger Games. But then Raina overwrites it by saying, that's not helpful. It's like, obviously it's not helpful, Raina. Don't explain the joke to me. Raina, you just fainted just long enough for all of us to laugh at you. Colin says something to Susan,
my name's not Colin.
No, he says something like, "You just blew your cover," and she says, "Oh yeah, well, why don't you blow me, Colin?"
His name's Frederick.
Right, I know, but I know it's funny you're in context. I'm
no. I'm just saying, but you called him Colin.
Yeah, because she called him Colin.
Yeah, but his name's Frederick.
Oh yeah, no, that's how little I respect him. But then the last one I'm going to say is when she says, "I'm just the same boring person I was before," and that really was very interesting to me, and I want to talk to you about it.
Okay. That's said by Susan?
Yeah.
What's the context? I don't remember.
Well, she's like, I think it's something like, when I joined the CIA, I thought I was going to have this, I thought I was going to be a spy.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have Bradley Fine's life. But I'm the same boring person I was before. Which is interesting because 5 seconds ago, she was blowing people up, helping this guy save the world. Lives were on the line, and she still thinks it's boring.
What part of the movie is this at?
So this was right before they start making fun of Karen Walker. It's right in the beginning.
But she was still in the chair. She wasn't in the field yet. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, but no offense to people who work at Walmart, but compared to someone who works at Walmart, that's pretty freaking exciting, if you ask me.
That is. I see your point there. But there's a difference between being the person behind the scenes versus being the person out there. There's a big difference.
Yes, you're right, but I think it's interesting. It's like total grass is greener, low self-esteem. No matter what she's doing, there's something inside of her that's causing her this pain, which I thought was very interesting.
All right.
Okay, so that is it for my favorite quotes.
Alrighty.
Now it is time for our ratings on a scale of 1 to 10 martinis, 1 being Avengers 1998 and 10 being even better than Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. How would we rate Spy? And I can go first because I know you usually prefer to go first. So if this was 2015, I would have given it a 9 out of 10 because I thought it was great.
Yeah.
This time, the improv didn't work quite as well. I thought it went on a little too long. It was dated. Oh, something else I forgot to mention is that Raina says something's retarded, which I also don't think you can do. You're going to agree with me with that, right? People don't say that in 2023.
You are if you're, just the, ginormous, terrible person.
Yeah, it just feels very dated. It's like I don't hear people say that outside of the fourth grade.
Yeah, that's true. I will give you that. I'm just, she's not supposed to be a role model. She's supposed to be an example of the most terrible person. Yeah,
that's fair. In a movie full of them. But anyway, so I like Melissa McCarthy. The Aldo stuff was just too much. It wasn't as funny as when I saw it in 2015. Okay. I still think it's pretty good, though. I still think it's very solid. I will give it a 7.5.
Okay, interesting. So
I'm feeling generous. Is that Melissa McCarthy is giving them a big bump.
Looking back through our list of just the movies that I compare, would obviously compare this to are going to be, the ones that are comedy based. So your Tuxedo, your Johnny English, your Get Smart. What did I rate the Spy Who Dumped Me? Oh, that was only our fourth episode.
Yeah, it was a very early one.
Wow, that was quite early. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I think of these, it's up there with, in my opinion, your Johnny English or your Get Smart. I think maybe even slightly better, I would say, because like you said, I think it does good character work, and I think it is funnier than those.
I certainly agree. I think it's funnier than Johnny English. It's funny.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I do love Johnny English, but I think it is funnier than Johnny English. I disagree with you. I think the improv still works for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give this as well a 7.5 out of 10 martinis, which it's pretty good. It's still a fun time, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Very nice. Well, that's good. I'm glad it was a winner. Yeah. It did bring us back into 2024. It's always nice when we agree on a movie, right?
Yeah, it is. It is, well, unless they're either really bad or really, really good. We usually don't, we don't agree, get exactly the same. So this is interesting. That's one of it's pretty good. And we both thought, all right, yeah, clearly 7.5 out of 10.
Very nice. All right. Anything else you want to discuss?
No, I mean, I'm just going back to just how it's, similar to those movies. It is funny that they keep overusing this trope of, all right, all of the identities are exposed, so now we have to bring out the most unlikely person as the spy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either that or everyone dies.
Yeah. Well,
which I think was in another movie,
that was the Johnny English's Everyone Dies.
One, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just funny that has popped up so many times. So
it's like we're the only ship in the quadrant from Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you all for joining us. You can find us on social media at the Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our merch store at redbubble.com. Until next time, I'm Zach.
And I'm Christian.
And we are the Spy-Fi Guys, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Spy-Fi Guys. If you enjoyed our podcast, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The theme song from this podcast is Mistake the Getaway by Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Films, books, and television shows reviewed by our podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
This is a personal podcast. Any views, statements, or opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the participants. They do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the participants may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.
You can find our podcast on social media at The Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.